5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Action.
Yeah, let's hash it out. Welcome back to the Hash It Out podcast. I'm the crispy man with no tin, hash brown roller coaster, and today joining me is my friend Zack. He was previously on the VR experience. We were learning about his aviation in college. He's still going through that, but I wanted to get him on the VR experience. However,
when was that?
That was sometime last year.
Yeah, maybe I think it was during almost start of the winter, end of the fall.
Yeah, I think so. Because I wanted to get it back on the VR experience, but my boys, they just weren't responding, so I decided to do it myself. I was like, all right, it looks like I'm taking my guests with me. So no hard feelings there, hopefully. But I know young Mac, he's going to be listening to this, so how's it going, Mac? But yeah, Zach, so the last time we did talk, we were on the VR experience, and you were telling us on how it was like being in the sky in the plane for the first time. But last time I talked to you, you were in Colorado, and you're getting these excellent views of how, where you were staying. And I think you left in such a hurry you didn't take your cell phone with you or something. Was that?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, one of those moments. Yeah. So how was it in Colorado?
It was good. It was good. You know what's funny is when I was staying in Colorado last year, New Year's Eve, I came home for Christmas, and when I went back to Colorado on New Year's Eve, I left my phone in Detroit, Michigan, and I lost it. Like I left it in an Uber. So it's seems like every time I travel back and forth,
there we go.
I forget my phone or lose it.
There we go. Now I feel like I'm more talking to you instead of looking at you. There we go, because my whole body language. Anyway, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. So you left your phone in Detroit. How was it losing your phone?
It was awful.
It was awful.
You ever lived 2 weeks without your phone? When you're trying to go to school.
I can't
get around the city that you don't know. It's pretty awful.
I know a friend who had a similar incident, but he was in Arizona. That's where he was at, and his phone died on him, and all he had was his little Apple Watch. He's talking into it like a FBI agent, like FBI, open up. How's it looking over there? It's looking good. Am I still cropped into it? Perfect. I'm just double checking the audio and video here because it took us literally 3 hours yesterday to get all this set up, to find out what was wrong with it, and to realize that it couldn't say my computer or any computer can't take two freaking microphones, USB microphones at the same time, which means I'm going to have to open up a GoFundMe page so people can send me money so I can pay for a proper podcast equipment, because one Yeti and one mic, it works for one person. But if I'm having multiple people here, this is where it gets a little difficult.
Right.
So, yeah.
You think it's good with since we're not looking at the camera anymore?
Yeah. I think now that we're more focused on each other now. So, yeah. But yeah, man. So last time we talked, you were in Colorado.
This is a really official setup.
It is. Thank you. Thank you. This is the first. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is the first in-person podcast I've ever had for the Hash It Out podcast, which is a question I forgot to ask you before you even came. So this might be a little on the spot, but what's something that you want to hash out? Sorry to just throw it at you, because that's the theme of the show.
About life, about school,
about anything, whatever grinds your gears, something you just want the audience to hear, that something you're passionate about. Yeah, sorry to throw you so quickly under the bus, but last podcast was with my cousin, and I already told him previously to think about something, but yeah.
Yeah, restart. Rewind.
Rewind. If you can't think of anything. No, it's okay. Like I said, I didn't prepare you, so it's very
Hashing it out.
hash it out. Yeah,
You know, the weather this winter.
the weather.
It's really kept me from proceeding in school.
Oh, really?
Flying, so, yeah.
Okay, so you got something against Mother Nature.
Yeah, I do. Against Mother Nature. That's right.
Yeah, because up there's a lot of turbulence, I imagine, in the summertime, but in the wintertime, is it worse?
Yes, I would say so.
Like how much?
Well, it's worse because of icing conditions. I would say mostly low clouds. So a lot of the maneuvers we need to do for like commercial training, or a lot of the instrument flying, even you don't really want to be in the clouds. Some of it you do, but when you're just getting started, you're trying to learn how to shoot an approach and do all that stuff. A lot of times you do it under foggles.
Okay. What are foggles exactly?
Oh, it's they're like sunglasses that block your outside view, and you can only see like what's right in front of you.
Huh.
So you can't like see out the windows of the plane, but you can see your instruments still.
So you gotta wear that while you're flying?
Yeah.
Whoa. So what if you like hit something?
Yeah, you have a instructor with you or a safety pilot.
Okay, so what is the purpose of these foggles then? So you're looking at the instruments on your dashboard?
Yeah, so it's to simulate like flying in the clouds.
Oh, yeah. So it's like preparing you so you get your senses and stuff built up, right?
Yeah, because it's blocking like the window aircraft, so you can't see outside at all. Okay. You can only see inside the aircraft. So you have to use your flight instruments and like what's shown on the displays.
Wow, so you're up in the air and you got to like look down at your dashboard while the instructor's with you?
Yeah, and fly all around, go down 200 feet above the runway, and then
oh my gosh.
Then you take them off and you land.
How stressful is that?
Not that bad.
Not that bad?
Maybe the first couple times it was. Yeah, it's all right.
So do you have to do that
pretty used to it.
Every single time or just in the beginning?
Well, let's see. So I'm part 61 training. So it's not through like a college or a university.
Okay.
And it's like I'm just paying to rent the plane and my instructor. So I need 40 hours of simulated or actual instrument airplane time. So I need 40 hours of doing that.
Okay. I hear you, man. I want to check up on something. Okay. Perfect. Okay. I was just double checking to see if the audio was still recording. Thing looks good.
Okay, so, should we have maybe done a test run?
No. We're done testing. We had 3 hours of trial and error yesterday. And with this audio input, there's no output. So we can't go back and listen to it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what the video said. And I was like, well, that
So
sucks.
how do you know if it's working?
By looking at Adobe Audition. Because it looks like it's recording, like the little sound waves.
Okay.
So in hopes, we're just going to hope.
I hope so too, man.
Well, I guess we could have stopped it and then listened to it. But we're past that now. We're already like 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
And that's okay because I just wanted to get this going. And I'm glad we got it going because we got it going from a GoPro. What's up, GoPro? Oh, wait, you can't see me. Son of a bitch. Good thing I looked at the GoPro.
How can you see the GoPro footage?
In my phone.
Nice. Let me see.
Yeah, look at that. So the GoPro is going to be our third angle.
Okay,
so I'm going to be switching between third angles and whatnot. So
I didn't know you could see me. I'm sitting crisscross applesauce.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're in this. So yeah, perfect. I'm glad I looked at that. That would have been embarrassing. I would have been halfway cut out, halfway through. Now I got to move my webcam mic action. Man. Okay, good. I made those slight adjustments. All right. Trial and error is done and over with.
That's right.
We 3 hours of us just going hard at trying to figure out why OBS wasn't recording. Now we figured it out. Now we're here for the good old podcast. So your beef is with Mother Nature. I had something to hash out. Well, it's multiple things now. One is TurboTax. I don't like TurboTax. You know what TurboTax is?
I do. And, I actually forgot to file my taxes last year. So I'm just now realizing that and paying a penalty and getting through that. So,
oh, man.
Yeah, that's fun. So I have a problem with TurboTax as well.
Well, see, my beef with TurboTax is I was misled. I was told it was free, completely free. And I was like, oh, cool. Because my friend was like, oh, my wife and I, we go through TurboTax. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll do that if it's free.
I think it is free.
Yeah, so I thought. So I thought. So listen to this. I go in, download TurboTax on my phone, put in all the stuff that I need, get it all filled out. And then by the end of it, it says I owe them like $150. And I was like, wait, what the hell is this? I thought it was free.
Right.
And it has an option. You can do a subscription for a yearly subscription for $40. That's what makes it free. But if you're doing it for free, filing your taxes for free, you have to pay $150. So I was like, I lost it. I was like, I can't believe they just misled me like that. So now I had $150 deducted from my taxes or whatever. So it was like 400 something. And I was like,
you had to pay?
Yeah. That $400 I was getting back.
Okay.
Yeah, if I had
so
to
you
pay
didn't actually have to pay. You just deducted it.
Yeah. So I was like, why? Why would you do this to me? Like and so I filed them, whatever. It's back in February. And it says February 8th comes around, you'll get it estimately, roughly. And I was like, all right, that should be 21 days. So I checked the app then, and it still says it's pending. How odd. Never done this before. So I click on it, and it says I got to go to the irs.gov and verify that it was actually me filing these taxes. And I was like, okay. So I did just that, filed everything, and then it says one last step. And I'm like, oh my God, why? So this is one last step. It said, we're going to send you something in the mail to fully verify if it's actually you doing your taxes online. Because there's a lot of people who get fraud out there. Completely understandable.
Taxes in the past?
I just went to Simplified down here in Williamston.
So maybe it was because it changed.
Well, I didn't want to do Simplified again because it was like $175 to get your taxes filed. And I was like, why is it so expensive?
Right.
I might just do it for myself for free next year or become an accountant or something. I don't know. But so I was just tired of paying $150 or $175. So I had to pay $140, $50, whatever on TurboTax. And then I had to go through all this verification steps. And they sent me something in the mail, but I didn't know when it was going to show up. So my mail, it comes through like a big stack because I forgot to check my mail for a couple of weeks. Oh, and I'm just like sifting through it. I'm like, IRS, no. And I look at it and I'm like, I already verified it. So I crumbled that paper up and threw it away or shredded it, whatever I did. And I called the number a week later and I said, hey, I haven't got my stuff yet. I haven't got my tax money. And they're like, did you get the verification envelope? I'm like, I think I threw that away. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. And I was like, why not? They're like, because there's a code on there that you need to tell us. And I facepalm myself. I'm like, I'm such a fool. I thought I already verified it, and I didn't know. So I don't know if the beef is with my ignorance or impatience or with TurboTax, but it might be a collection of all three.
Yeah, maybe should have been some better instructions,
or check my mail regularly.
Or that.
So yeah, basically I messed up. And eventually I asked them to send it again, which would take another 11 days. So they told me the date it would show up on. And I was like, okay, I'll keep that memory stored so I know when it does show up. And it did. And I finally verified and I finally got everything I need.
Okay.
And it just came in literally like on the 27th of whenever. So I just paid my rent with it, So it all worked out. I paid my rent for this month. Now I got to figure out how to do it for next month. So yeah, that's my hash out. What was that? I just heard a loud click. I hope nothing crashed on my computer.
That's a heck of a glass you got there.
Oh, my mug?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this mug because it's 32 ounces. And so with my 75 hard challenge, I just fill it all the way up and I just chug it. So you get like 4 of these equals a gallon.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I measure it. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's how I measure it.
Gotcha.
Thanks for reminding me. I was rather thirsty. All that talking got me heated.
So I used TurboTax, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then last year, didn't quite get around to filing them. So I'm just now paying a penalty this year.
Yeah.
I'm paying like some guy at a tax place this year. I'm not messing with it. And I want to say it was around $150, maybe $200.
Seems like it's the standard. Like,
so
I'm about to do it myself, or this is what my buddy Jake.
Oh, so I know it's free to file through TurboTax if you do it yourself.
That's what I did. And it cost me. Maybe it was like the first time fee, but I'm really weary of it now.
Yeah, that's strange.
Like, it's got all my information on there. I want to do a test run maybe like next year, but at the same time, I don't want to go through all that BS.
Right.
But like I said, it's got all my information now, so maybe I'll have to pay less. I don't know, but it really pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm no tax expert.
Me neither. See, that's where I need somebody listening, somebody listening to this podcast who knows how to do taxes. Come here, do my taxes for free, and I don't have to pay some ridiculous fee. But how would that even
free is always nice.
But how would you even like submit it to the IRS? I think you'd have to go through like the website and everything.
I'm not sure, but I thought that's what TurboTax did. But maybe not.
Yeah, really pisses me off though.
Not sure.
So this is where I have another friend who is looking into getting rich. So
are we all?
Yeah, well, aren't we all? So he's looking to get rich to the point where he doesn't have to put his taxes down because there's a system that these billionaires use where they don't have to pay taxes. My only reference is Donald Trump.
I believe that for sure.
Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki don't pay taxes because they use their business as an asset or something. It's confusing because, I'm not at that level. But they use their business as an asset and then they spend all the money, the asset money, so it doesn't look like they have an income.
Right.
And then if they don't have an income, they can't be taxed.
So that's how Amazon did it.
Yeah.
They've been I don't think they turned a profit until the last couple of years, maybe the last 5 years. All those years they were just expanding their businesses, building more warehouses, more trucks, whatever. Yeah. But that's crazy. They never actually turned a profit until a couple of years ago. Yeah. Even though they're one of the largest companies to ship stuff around. It's one of the best websites to shop on.
Yeah, I don't know if you listened to the second episode of the podcast with Dennis. He kind of touches up on that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did listen to it.
Yeah, where he talked about how Amazon's only the delivery system is only 5 years old, or 6 years old now, 5 or 6 years old.
Right.
So it's still relatively new on the radar, but it's ever expanding because people love Amazon and they want to just growing, just work for it, get stuff from it. But yeah, still young. Unlike the Postal Service, has been around since 19 or 1800s.
They have a lot of different rules than Amazon.
Yeah.
They can only put it in your mailbox or different stuff.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
We're not allowed to touch the mailbox.
Yeah, that was one of the crazy things. I remember in some of the instructions with Amazon, some customers would be like, "Hey, put this in my mailbox." I was like, "Hey, that's against our code. We can't, our policy. We can't do that because it's federal."
I think it's a federal crime to touch or open somebody's mailbox.
Yep. Pretty crazy. But anyway, enough of that. TurboTax has been a bitch. I don't like it. But with
you're getting some money back this year, though.
Yeah, a little bit, but it went all into my rent. So I don't really have anything right now, I just went all rent. So
I can buy anything special for tax year.
No, I can't. I can't. It just all went to rent, which it's a necessary thing. It's a sacrifice you got to be willing to make. But speaking of Amazon, before I got fired, I want to shout out a friend. His name was Bailey. I don't know if you remember him. He's the guy that always came up to me asking me about the podcast and always wanted me to give him a shout out.
Yeah, he drove.
Yeah, way to dox him. We'll just leave that.
Sorry.
Now they're going to find him.
Pretty average truck.
Yeah, well, yeah, he drove a vehicle.
Yeah,
so we'll bleep out the way to dox him there, Zach. So that guy, he saved me one day. Like it was like I think 2-3 weeks before they fired me. And like I said, I didn't know they were gonna fire me. So I was driving.
Do you think he knew?
No, it was just sudden. So this was like at night, wintertime, I think around December or maybe December. And I was out late. I was driving. It was snowy, and I see a driveway with tracks, snow tracks going to it. I was like, maybe I can make it. And it was just warming up. So like it was like the weather wasn't super cold, but the snow was still on the ground. So the ground, like the snow was kind of mushy, needless to say. So I'm like, all right, if they can do it, I can. Just follow their tracks. And I got like halfway down their driveway and I couldn't get out. And I was like, oh no, this sucks. So I called dispatch and said, hey, I'm trying like hell to get out of here. And she's like, all right, I'll have somebody come rescue you. So that person was Bailey. And he's like, what's going on, Jim? I was like, I'm stuck and I need your help. So we did. Oh, what happened? Oh, stop recording. And he goes, all right, it's recording. Take 2 for the GoPro. So he comes out and he rescues me. We're doing everything. We're putting the wires on the tire. We're throwing everything, like all these totes underneath it to like get traction out of the snow.
Wires on the tire.
Yeah, they have the kits in the vans. They had them, so you could like wrap the wire around. Like it's almost like a chain link.
Like a zip tie?
No, it's like literal metal. Like it's like a wiring. So it's like pantyhose for the tire. Like you put it around and you clip it and the tires will spin and supposedly grip onto the ground better. Didn't work for this instance because it's snow and mush.
I see.
However,
you need like a picture of it maybe.
If only I had a picture of it. However, when I was stuck, I had this ingenious idea of the BMW bounce method. You remember me showing you the video?
Oh, yes. Not BMW, was it?
Yeah, it was BMW. So they have this feature in the BMW
I
where...
thought it was Mercedes.
It could be Mercedes. You might be right.
Maybe it is BMW.
But here, I'm putting my hand up here so we could like put up the video where like you press the button in the Mercedes or BMW, whatever it was, and it'll start bouncing basically to get you out of sand, mud, or snow.
Or if you're rolling downtown jamming.
You can just do that, like a little hydraulic. So I thought of that. I was like, hold on. I was like, all those power steering is in the front. I was like, Bailey, I need you to stand in the back and jump on the tailgate. So we opened up the back doors and he held on like, and he started jumping. I'm like, keep jumping, dude. I think I feel it. And I was moving the steering wheel and it all like loosened up and eventually started getting traction. And I'm like, keep going, Bailey. I feel it. And we started getting more and more momentum. And finally we drove all the way out of that snowy, like miserable, like driveway and got into the right driveway.
Nice.
Yeah, all thanks to Bailey. So shout out to Bailey.
Yeah. Did he come and rescue you?
Yeah, he took like half my packages, but it was like 10 or 9:30 at the time. And I was like, I called dispatch. And I was like, hey, listen, I just got out. Bailey helped me. He didn't abandon me like you wanted him to. Because she told him just come rescue and then the tow truck will come and get me. The tow truck never came, or it would take like an hour to get there. Mm-hmm. So basically, I called her back and I was like, all right, I'm out. And she's like, just return, just come back. And I was like, well, what about Bailey? He helped me get out. And he's like, he looked at me with that like happiness tear in his eye, like, he's really looking out for me. Well, yeah, man, you just helped me get out of here. I don't want you to go through the same crap I just did. And he's like, just staring me at a pause, because he doesn't expect me to give him that kind of recognition for helping me out. I was like, he helped me get out. And she's like, yeah, I guess just both return. And I was like, okay. So then we hung up and he's like, dude, I didn't think you were going to I was just going to continue. I was like, dude, it's like 9:30. We got 30 minutes. You're not going to get very far. So I was looking out for him. So yeah, shout out to Bailey.
It's not worth getting stuck again 2 driveways down.
No, because he was telling me that driveway that I got stuck in was a driveway that was on his regular route. Because I think I was in St. John's. Because I wasn't that far away. It was about 30 to 40 minutes away. It wasn't super far. But I was also 2 or 3 ticks away from E. I had about...
Did you get gas that morning?
I don't remember why I didn't get gas.
Always get gas.
I know, they always say that. And I don't know why I didn't get gas that morning. So I was like, man, Bailey, I'm freaking out here. He's like, you'll make it back. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I do it all the time. So I was like, oh gosh. So yeah, that was quite an adventure, man. That day, I think I did fill up that morning. And I think I got done early. And I was about at a half a tank or a little bit lower. So I wanted to go home after that route, but to go back out and rescue somebody. So that may be why. And I told them, I'm like, hey, I'm close to E. And they're like, how much? And I told them, I think 99 miles, because you could look at the range. And they're like, you'll be fine. And I was like, okay. I made it back miraculously. Those vans somehow have somewhat good efficiency, and they're the best.
One time when I started my van up in the morning, I did my pre-check or whatever, checked all the lights, made sure all my tires had air in them.
Yeah.
Made sure my AC worked or heat, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I go to shut my van off, and I notice the lights blinking, and I'm like, oh, what's that? The gas light was on. And I look at the gauge, and I was already past the red and the E. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even have time to go a half mile down the road and get my packages. I need to go straight to the gas station.
Yeah.
Luckily, Spencer let me take another van. So
oh, that's good.
I didn't even have to deal with that.
Hey, speaking of Amazon, do you still work there or no?
I haven't in probably,
since you went to
since 2023.
2023?
I haven't worked there at all.
So you just called them up and said, hey, my college is kicking up?
I told them that I was going on 6 weeks of traveling a little bit and doing different schooling. Mm-hmm. It was really inconsistent in my schedule, so I wasn't exactly sure when I could work. So I needed to kind of go on hold or
makes sense.
And then they said, well, just let me know when you can work again. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. And then here we are, I guess 3 months later. And
so I bet you're still in their system.
He did text me and say, hey, let me know when you're going to work again. I'm going to take you off on insurance or something for that.
Oh, that's right. I think
remember
you told me
Alex?
that. Yeah.
Actually, that was Alex.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, Alex.
Alec?
Not Alex.
Where's Alex?
No, you're right.
He was a good guy. I liked him.
He was really nice, and I like that about him because you could always communicate to him.
Yeah, he was good. He always took care of everything. It was stress free. He would take care of it.
Yeah, but he did me dirty. He did me dirty. Just a weird way to go about firing somebody. That's all I'm going to say. Is just he did me dirty.
Didn't you and your brother talk about that?
Probably.
Hmm.
I talked about it on the. No, not my brother. It was the podcast with Brody.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Your long lost cousin?
No, Brody is my long lost cousin. Yeah, that was my cousin. But no, Brody was my DJ friend, DJ Brody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was literally the day after it happened. So February 2nd is when I think I got that text. So February 5th or 6th is when I recorded with Brody.
Oh, I bet you were definitely talking about it then.
Yeah, I was because if only the mic could pick up because I was screaming. If you go back and listen to it, I screamed fuck like at the top of my lungs, but the mic peaked, so like it just suppressed all that noise and it just went silent, and all you can hear is Brody and his friend laughing. Yeah, it was good. It was a good reaction, but it was insane. But now I'm back at Meyer, right across the street from where we used to work. So it's not too bad a distance. But thinking about going back to Amazon at a different place. I'm not going to expose their name in case I don't want to dox anybody. But yeah,
or yourself.
Or myself, yeah. Hopefully I can get back into Amazon because I don't like working at the factory. Like it's a
factory. I thought you were loading up semi-trucks.
No, nope.
I guess that might be considered a factory.
So what I do... it's a warehouse. But what I do is I just go to these shelves in a giant freezer because it's all frozen, like negative 15 degrees. And they got you all bundled up. And you got you're basically an Eskimo in this shop and your nose is all frozen.
Negative 15 degrees?
15.
Where you're working?
Yep, negative 15.
Wow.
They got to keep the products frozen, I guess. And
32 degrees is freezing. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, negative 15 is I guess their ultimate everything's going to freeze at like negative sub-zero temperatures.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just liked Amazon's how it like the outdoors, you could breathe fresh air and stuff like that. And it was a little bit more physical, getting in and out of the van and all that stuff and keeping rate and all that. But I just like that. I was constantly moving. I can enjoy my weather, whether it was cold or hot. It was nice. And so I just want to go back to that. But this time, not slack as much as I did. Like I called in a couple of times. I don't want to call in. Okay, I'm just checking time. I don't want to call in as much. So I feel like I'm going to learn my lesson this time. Where I don't call in nearly as much as I did last time. So that's the goal. So,
sounds like a good goal.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be driving the same type of van?
Yeah. It'll be the same van, just different company. And I'll probably be waving at everybody from the previous company. Like, hey guys, I'm back.
You should check on how long your training is good for. So when we went through the training, I remember them telling us, because that's where we met, remember?
That's where we met,
yeah. Amazon training.
Yeah.
We were going through it and they said, if you do leave, because we had a 25, 26-year-old in our class that said he had worked there previously.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but yeah.
I don't remember his name either. But then he left because he said he was making more money somewhere else. And then he came back. He was in our training with us.
I vaguely remember that guy.
And he had to take the training over again because it had been too long. And, maybe 6 or 12 months.
Oh, God.
So you should check on that. So you don't have to go through the training again.
Yeah, that's true.
Or maybe they just make everybody go.
Probably do. But, yeah, I don't know. I liked working for him. It was nice. They gave us free stuff. Or just
free snacks once in a while.
Free snacks once in a while. But it was just like, I don't know, like I said, it was better than being in a factory where you're just miserable, working at, inside, especially in the cold. But even when I wasn't in the cold, like at Hilux, I had, it was just stuffy, hot machinery, oily smell. It was greasy, gross. It was just a nasty environment. Like nobody liked working there. Even though they worked there for 20 plus years, they were just like, this is life. And they had that dead look to their face, like their soul's been sucked out of their body.
Yeah, that's not good. Not quite the environment you was be working on.
Not at all. So.
Oh, I have one more thing I want to hash out.
Yeah,
this is my real hash out.
Oh, okay. Not with Mother Nature. But with something else. Now that your gears are turning, now you got something you really want to hash out. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so yesterday when I was pulling a plane out of the hangar, little training 4-seater aircraft. It was multiple planes, maybe like 10 or 12 jammed into this hangar. So they were really tight.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I was just going to go and try to move and maneuver all by myself.
Yeah.
So I waited a little bit until there was more people in there moving planes. And I go to grab this plane and I start to move it. And I'm looking on this side and I'm like, okay, it's going to clear the hangar wall or door. And the other side was near a high-wing Cessna. And I was worried it was going to hit their strut. And there was a guy standing over there. I was like, hey, can you watch that wing? And he's like, yeah. And like as I'm slowly like moving it, I look over and he's watching it. And I'm like, hey, can you help me watch back there? And he's like, yeah. And then I'm slowly moving it. And then I look over and he was on his phone. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm good. So I start to go a little bit faster and then I scratched the back of the airplane on the top of his wing of the Cessna. And it was completely my fault. I should have looked, should have been paying more attention.
Right.
I was moving the aircraft. I'll take responsibility.
Yeah.
But I thought he was helping me look. He was on his phone. And that upset me a little bit. So all these old boomers that are complaining about our generation on the phone, look what he did,
Yeah, how dare he?
Still my fault, not throwing blame at all. That very much so frustrated me for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's a real problem right there. Boomers. Well, that's crazy though. Like you would think he's an experienced pilot, right?
I would expect so. I mean, at least I thought so. He was there renting an aircraft, flying by himself.
So you scratched his airplane.
Well, so I was pulling out a Diamond Star. So that's a low-wing aircraft made of composite fiberglass plastic fuselage at the body of the aircraft and wings.
Okay.
And it was the rear horizontal stabilizer on my aircraft at Diamond.
Okay.
That clipped. So the bottom side of the stabilizer on the Diamond clipped the top of the wing on the Cessna, which is a high wing.
Okay.
His aircraft has metal wings, aluminum, and mine that I was moving was plastic and fiberglass. Metal versus plastic. His aircraft was fine.
So it was yours that you scuffed up?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, and yes.
Okay, so that's still stressful, but like it's much worse when it's somebody else's. Like you don't own that plane, So It's like, oh great. My dad was always adamant about never letting my friends borrow my bicycles or anything like that back when I was a kid, because whenever we would, the kids would disrespect it, like either like pop the chain, break it, handlebars, something would always break, because whether it's an accident or not, the kids would just break out of their control. But yeah.
I feel like I've always been good at sharing things until I got more expensive items that I had to spend my own money on. Like when my friend asked to drive your car.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. Like, I at least had to think about it at first. Yeah. I had a few friends drive my car or my truck, but it's not exactly something you let everybody just, hey, nice to meet you. You want to drive my car home?
Right, right. So, man, like, how did you feel in that moment when you saw the stuff in your plane?
For a brief moment, I go, well, there goes my flying career. I'll never be able to afford this. I'm done. And then when the mechanic walked over, he said it was just a paint scratch. So it did actually damage the structural integrity of the rear horizontal stabilizer. So I felt a little bit better after that.
That's a relief.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a relief, but it'll still cost me some money, which I'm not too happy about.
Yeah.
I paid for a couple hours of flight lessons, but
yeah. So that won't deduct your record at all, will it?
No, because I didn't crash the airplane. Yeah. I was just moving it. I wasn't even in the cockpit. I was outside the airplane pushing it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Damn, it's good. It's like a bittersweet moment. It's like you didn't do too significant damage, but it still sucks that it happened.
Right. It scratched on like a couple of rivets or maybe bolt heads on the top of the Cessna wing.
Yeah. Nothing to throw you off in the air, right?
Right.
Okay. That's good. We would have went with that. That's crazy.
Just disrupt that airflow on that rear stabilizer, so they'll get that paint fixed.
So you mentioned flying out in Colorado. Did you drive out there or fly out there?
Fly out there.
Like yourself or in a commercial?
Commercial.
Okay.
Yeah, I would fly out there because, for a while I was doing a little bit of training in Colorado.
Yeah, I remember you said that in the previous podcast.
Right.
Yeah,
so that was a lot different flying.
Okay.
So around here, we take off at like 500, 600, 800, maybe 1,000 foot above sea level. Mm-hmm. Out there, we were taking off at 6,000, 8,000 feet above sea level.
So what does that mean exactly?
So it's a lot higher elevation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'd be taking off. So some of those trainer aircraft we flew were like at a max sort of ceiling of like 14,000 feet. So if you go too much higher above that, it's a prop. Yeah, it's a prop plane. So there's just not exactly as much air up there for the plane to use to create power.
Okay. Huh.
So those bigger jets and everything have compressors and everything for turbochargers and superchargers that they're able to squeeze more air in.
Pull more in,
Right, where mine just uses the natural flow of air that I'm going through.
Interesting. That's so crazy. I'm glad you touched up on that. That's so cool. So elevation was different there in Colorado. Was it did it pop your ears harder or how did that go? Like you're up there in the air and
I would say the
pressures from Michigan to Colorado.
Yeah, whenever I go out there, the first 2 weeks of being on the ground, if I'm staying out there, it's always maybe a little bit difficult to breathe because I'm just going to that higher elevation. I'm just not used to it up there in the mountains.
Oh, so you're up in the mountains where it's actually thinner air. So that's where their airports are?
Yeah, some of their airports are up there.
Wow, that's because of the elevation difference?
Yeah.
Oh, the sea level, as you mentioned.
Right. So some of those airports were at maybe 10, 9,000 feet, but the one in Denver, I want to say, is at 6,000 feet above sea level.
Okay.
But there are a couple out there that are a higher elevation. There's a couple tricky ones.
Yeah. That's where you were at, in the mountains?
Yeah, I was flying around to all sorts of different airports down there.
So. Okay. That's crazy.
But I haven't flown from Michigan to Denver.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never done that myself.
That's so cool. I didn't know that about the whole elevation thing. Obviously, I'm not a pilot, but hearing that from you and your perspective and the pressural change in your ears, that's cool. So, and the air was obviously different up there in the mountains too because it's thinner, right?
Yeah, there's a lot different air. So you get a lot different clouds out there too.
Yeah,
you get some clouds that are just sitting at the top of mountain peaks.
Yeah.
Called standing lenticular clouds.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the air that's moving through those areas in Colorado will just kind of go right through those clouds and they'll kind of stay stationary. So the air is kind of just flowing through.
Whoa.
And when they hit those mountain tops, it creates a lot of turbulence on the other side, called mountain wave turbulence.
Yeah.
It could create some bad suctions down below in valleys and different stuff too.
Wow.
So it can be dangerous flying in the mountains.
That's crazy.
It's just a lot different than flying out there.
Yeah. So I remember we talked a little bit about Top Gun the last time you were on the podcast.
Great movie. I love both of them.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask you if you saw the second one. Remember how they were flying really low into the mountains? You think that's possible?
Oh, yes. I think both of those movies were shot with real airplanes.
Okay.
Live. Well, not live, but real footage, not CGI.
Okay. I was going to say, you just mentioned it being dangerous down in the valleys. They flew, I don't know how close they did, but it was pretty low where they wouldn't be detected by radar or something.
Right.
So then they could get the uphill advantage.
That's also, I think it was an F-18 they flew in the new
Yeah, it was a jet.
Yeah, not anything close to what I can find yet. But
That's right. That's right. You don't have
maybe one day.
One day, yeah. So
and I don't think I'll ever go the military route. So
yeah.
But people have asked me, do you want to try to fly a fighter jet? I'm like,
yeah.
I just don't know if that's for me. I just don't know if that's something I'm even interested in attempting to learn the career pathway.
Yeah, it's a strict regimen. But like, so those jets can go through the mountain ranges pretty easily. Like the valleys of them, like we saw in that movie, they can go through that.
Yeah, it was probably a lot more calmer day. There probably wasn't any dangerous winds out there.
Yeah.
Because they were 100 feet above the ground. Just some dangerous, 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts.
Yeah.
But it is an F-18. I don't know much about F-18s, but I imagine they can handle any conditions.
I was just trying to think, like, your plane couldn't fly down there because of those dangerous suction stuff. And, like, if it does catch you, you just plummet, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, at 100 feet above the ground?
Yeah, there's no bracing there. It's just straight.
Just because of the
power, nosedive.
Like the power of my planes, I think it has 180 horsepower on most trainer aircraft. Cessna 172 or like a Piper Archer, Diamond Star 40. A lot of those have like around 180 horsepower.
Yeah.
So their climb rate or their climb gradient just isn't quite enough to dangerously fly into those valleys. You'd want to make sure you're a couple thousand feet above the peaks before you even attempt to go.
Right.
Okay. And on a nice calm day where there's no dangerous wind shear or anything.
So how do you assess the wind up in the air like that? Like before you fly, like how do you know whether it's good conditions to fly?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of different resources out there through our government and the FAA, which is the administration that looks over and kind of regulates the aviation industry. Mm-hmm. So there's, at every single airport, every single major airport, they have multiple different weather depicting and weather gathering information and devices. So when I look for like the winds for the day, I can look at a chart that's the entire United States, and it'll kind of show in small arrows like the direction that the wind is kind of flowing that day. If it's coming from the south or north.
Kind of like in the news, the meteorologist map.
Yeah, that might be the same. I don't really watch the news, but it might be the same as that.
That's just how I'm picturing it. Because on there they show like the high and low winds are coming from, like if there's high pressure and low pressure type stuff, or cold air will be coming in this, and then hot air will be coming over top, and something like that.
Yeah, and then they have a winds and temps aloft chart, so they'll show you at different altitudes, like 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, 12,000, what the predicted winds and temperatures are going to be. Okay. So you can kind of look out for icing and try to get that tailwind. If you're heading east to west, you want to get a tailwind that's going in that direction so you can not get the headwind and slowly get the tailwind and go faster.
So in a sense, it's kind of like, this is how my mind works. It's like, it just reminds me of a time when they had sailboats, where they had to use the wind to direct them. So same thing with your planes, like you want to be at the wind's at your back instead of, at the front of you.
Exactly. It's more efficient. It burns less fuel. You go faster.
Yeah, I feel like birds fly the same way.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing like a little tiny Tweety bird. I don't know if that's what it's called, but a little bird trying to fly against the wind. It wasn't moving anywhere. It just stayed there, and then it'd have to drop down and wait for the winds to go away. Interesting.
I've seen that recently. Just within the last couple months, we've had some violent winds in Michigan. And one time when I was on the highway, I think I was sitting not on the highway at a red light. I looked over and there was a bird. And I maybe would have never noticed this before I've gotten into aviation for a year or two now. And it was just kind of like going up and down very slowly, like a small wave.
Yeah.
But it wasn't flapping its wings at all, and it wasn't moving forward.
Yeah.
And must be the wind mile per hour that were coming at him was just exactly enough where he just could not propel forward anymore. He was just stuck with that body weight.
Damn, that's crazy. So if the winds were coming at you in the plane, how would you get out of that situation?
Sometimes you do have to fly with a headwind. Sometimes there's no avoiding it, especially if you're on a short trip. Okay. And the winds 18,000 feet and below are all heading in the same direction. well, you don't have much of a choice. You have to go from point A to point B. The winds are flowing as a headwind. I'm going to have to burn more fuel and just go at a slower ground speed.
Okay. So, like, I wonder how, like, commercial airplanes do it then. It's probably something out of your expertise, but they also have bigger engines.
Right. They also can go a lot higher.
Yeah, that's true.
So once you get super far up in the sky, 60,000 feet, flight level 60, they can kind of choose different levels. And I don't fly up there, so I don't know much about the tailwinds and headwinds. But I believe it circulates a lot more because that's where a lot of the winds on the Earth are moving around at higher speeds. Yeah. The weather theory, the heating and cooling of the sun type northern, where we get like the prevailing westerly winds. Yeah, okay.
That's interesting. There's a lot of things I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad I got you, on the previous podcast. You shared your story of how, it was starting up and all that stuff. So I remember trying to ask this question back in the previous podcast because I was curious on how like college class looks for you. I don't think it got across well because I feel, there was two other people also asking questions. But like, how does your college work look?
So I'm not in a college.
Or like, how does your work look for you?
Like when I have class, like on the ground. Yeah. So a lot of it's learning towards my commercial certificate. So when you want to get like a nursing license or to be a lawyer, you have to take the bar. All of those, you have to take an exam or like a big test, right? Yeah. And to get your commercial pilot certificate or your ATP, your airline transport pilot certificate, it's a check ride in a plane. So it's a ground portion and then a flight portion. Okay. So the ground portion is like usually a lot of verbal questions. You sit down with an examiner and you just talk through a lot of questions. So there's a big book on like what you could be tested on.
Big book.
You have to go through and study, make sure you know all the material. So you don't know what the examiner's going to ask you. Yeah.
So you went through that big book and looked at everything that you needed to, or?
Yeah, I've had to go through a couple of them.
Wow.
So I'm getting close. I still need to go through like the commercial book and actually go through. So I've completed probably quite a few of them. I would know just from my previous training, like as private pilot and in my instrument training. So a lot of the knowledge is going to be like pretty similar or the same. But then the commercial side, I'll need to like build onto it, a little more in depth. So the commercial side, be able to be compensated to fly. So I want that deeper understanding, deeper knowledge of a lot of those subjects.
That's a lot of reading. So do you read, how many pages do you read a day to get through that big book?
Well, see, I'm trying to explain. So the book has sections in there and then it has knowledge. And you'll say the pilot needs to have complete understanding and knowledge about this, and this, flight planning in maps, let's say. So then it'll have different subjects that if the examiner asks you, it's an automatic fail. You need to know about this. And then it'll have a lot of things that are very broad. It's icing. Okay, well, there's a lot to know about icing, right? There's a ton to know about icing. Just on my aircraft icing temperatures, what do you want? What do you want me to exactly know? So it's a lot of broad, vaguely. Make sure you understand it as a whole. Or
that's incredible. That's wow. So it's not just
a book with
just words. It's pictures and graphs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's subjects, and then it'll have a coded letter and number to it. So when you go take a written exam, if you get some questions wrong, it'll be able to go through and be okay, you needed to work on this section because that's where this question was from. Okay. So it's a little bit coded out, and then there's my pilot handbook, airplane flying handbook. There's
so many books.
Yeah, I would say like 6 or 7 by the FAA, weather and different aerodynamics that you can use to learn. Make sure you know about all the subjects for commercial pilot.
Jeez. I mean, I guess that's good because they don't want just some Joe Schmo showing up and then just taking people for a flight that they don't know anything about.
That's true. Yeah. No, there's a lot to it.
Yeah. Because I hate to bring this back to Amazon. That's basically what they do with Amazon. They take anybody who can drive, look at their record, they do the background check, but then it's like, here's your training, 3 days of video and stuff like that, and then you're good.
Right.
Could you imagine if Amazon was like a process like yours, where you had to go through like hours and hours of books and stuff to learn how to properly drive, which most of it you would think, like all the training we saw was common sense.
Most of it was.
I don't know how common sense works up in the air. It's a completely different element.
Right.
Like you would.
I feel like that's what most of the pilot training is too. It's like experienced pilots teaching these younger pilots like me to have that like social awareness and almost like availability in your knowledge and skills to know what to do when. Because you just never know what's going to happen.
That's true. That's true.
And that's good pilot decision making.
Yeah, man. So are any of your like instructors from the military?
Yes. I believe, I don't want to say his name, but I know a couple at my school that they've previously flew in the military and now they're more. One guy is a flight instructor. I think 2 of them are. Actually, I think they all are. A couple of them are working currently like in management.
Yeah.
But I think they all are instructors.
I wonder if that kind of helped them get there. Like they went to the military, did what they had to do, and they're like, well, I'm going to go and pursue something I had a passion for from the beginning. They just wanted to instruct people. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can see how instructing might be something later in life that I would want to do. Mm-hmm. Like as maybe a couple times a week type thing. They don't always all work full time.
Yeah.
One of them does, but
dude,
teaching things can be fun though, right?
It can be.
Especially when you're really passionate about it.
Yeah, that's something I always liked about my school teachers. Like there's 2 of them. Well, 2 of them that I like the most. Mr. Olson, he was an English teacher. And Mr. Clark, he was a math teacher. Both, obviously they're 2 different people, but 2 different teaching methods. Mr. Olson tried teaching like he was at a college, like a professional level college for 7th graders, which at the time I didn't like because I was a 7th grader and my mind couldn't keep up with his thought process. It was very elaborate and complex. But when I look back to it, I'm like, man, this guy was right. And then Mr. Clark was like a drill instructor. Like he was
cutthroat,
quiet when I'm talking, or else I will yell at you individually in front of the entire class.
Probably send an email to your mother saying that you're rude.
He wouldn't need to. he would make you like he wouldn't like just embarrass you, but like if you let's say example A. I would be looking out the window because I saw a butterfly. Real life situation. This actually happened. And, I just it was like springtime and I looked out the window. I saw a butterfly and I was like, it's nice. And then all of a sudden I hear my name and I'm just snapped to the front. And I was like, like deer in a headlight, you see because he said it in such a strict tone. It was all about his tone. He's like, Tim. And I was like, frozen there. And he's like, what's the answer on the board? And I looked at it and I feel like I may have heard him subconsciously talking about it as I was looking outside. And I was just like, 4. And he's like, you're one lucky man, Tim. But he said it in such a, like a tone where it was like scary and you never want to experience that side. It's like he always did that to freshmen because he was trying to train them to respect the teacher, and it was like super scary. And the substitute teachers would always be like, why are they so quiet? They were eerie like so quiet, and they just didn't understand why. But when they met Mr. Clark, like he's like, oh, he's this guy that, you know, has set rules. But you were talking about teaching. That's how I got looped into this. Is I always liked teaching people too in some way, like whether it be about like podcasting, which I know very little about. But I remember having somebody ask. Well, I mean, I know the basics, but I know enough to get where I'm at right now. And there's levels to it, but I'm at the entry level. So when people ask me, how do you start a podcast? I remember some lady asked me that. I was like, do you have a camera? She said, yeah. I was like, do you have a mic? Yeah. That's basically all you need. Basically, and if you do Zoom calls, it's a rough start, but until you start like getting more attraction towards your channel, that's when you should invest in all this stuff. I did it completely ass backwards. I had a good paying job, so I went and, like, when I was working at Hilux, I bought all this equipment, you know, at the time that I didn't really know how to use it to its full extent like I do now. So we had all this fancy stuff, but we weren't making any content because it wasn't good enough for Marco or young Mac. They had a perfectionist about them, but since they had that to them, that's what really slowed our channel down. I'm like, guys, let's just go back to the basics. Anywho, so we had all this equipment, but now, like, I'm using it, you know, for myself instead of for, you know, the Faded Fan Bros or the VR experience. And the whole point of it was to just kind of encourage me to step out on my own. But got so far track off of teaching people, you know.
Yeah, speaking of teaching people, I hate the fear tactic of, let me just put fear into them and they'll listen to me and I'll be alpha. That's not good.
Well,
that's the whole military, I think, too.
I don't think like alpha was like the intention of Mr. Clark. It was just how he set the tone. Like, I am the teacher, you are the student. Do not interrupt when I'm speaking.
Just respect me.
Speak when spoken to, type of thing. You know, like if you had your phone out, you know, at the time, phones were relatively new, that he would snap, put your phone away, or give me the phone, or put it on the desk.
You had a phone in 7th grade?
No, not me.
Oh.
No, Mr. Clark was freshman year.
Okay.
7th grade was Mr. Olson. Mr. Olson, he was a character. You know, I'd love to go on a whole episode about how great he was and how I just didn't do a good enough job paying attention or just learning. You know, he taught very easy things just in a complex manner. Oh, gosh, just getting close to that time.
I was looking into the camera.
Oh, you're looking into the camera?
You're dramatic.
Oh, man. But, yeah. Teachers are great. We need teachers in the world. I know some people say break out of the rat race and just get rich, but we also need those people who are teachers too. You know what I mean?
My mother is a teacher. So
is she really?
Yeah.
What does she teach?
Currently, she's a kindergarten teacher.
Okay.
I think they moved her. She's going to retire soon.
Okay.
But she taught 1st and 2nd grade.
Okay.
1st and 2nd grade for 33 or something years now that she's done it. 31.
That's a dedication. That's awesome, dude. You definitely need good teachers nowadays.
I definitely could not even attempt to take on 31st or 2nd graders, let alone kindergartners.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
holy cow.
I'm good with my girlfriend's nieces and nephews, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you should, you know, think about whatever, you know, like becoming a teacher or babysitter." I'm like, I don't know.
I like these ones.
I don't mind being like the fun, playful, you know, older kid, because that's all I am in their eyes. Is, oh, Tim, he's the fun one. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't mind that, but it's different when you have to be like the authority role. You know, like I could tell the kids to stop and they'll stop, but it's not like I see them every day. You know, it's like once in a blue moon. But 30 of them, You got to go through a lot of training mentally for that.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine high schoolers. So, like, high schoolers are their own little. I mean, they're all their own little person, but like high schoolers are more. I don't know. I feel like volatile.
I remember kids when I went to high school would cuss out the teacher and say "F you," and that was like, wow. Can you imagine another 10 years? Now what are they doing?
Yeah, man. Well, in my school, it was a very small school, so there wasn't a whole lot of unruly kids, and if there were, the country kids would quickly, not beat them up, but like quickly try to put them in their place. But most of the time, it was just either girls fighting over like stolen panties or bras in the locker room, like you stole my shirt or you stole my whatever,
That's funny.
But then with the guys, most of the guys I feel like were pretty chill with each other, except when a girl would get involved. Like one girl would break up with this guy, go date another guy, and that guy would be like, "You stole my woman." It was literally much like
high school drama.
Yeah, much like that. But there wasn't any like, there wasn't much fighting at my school. Like, no, not much. So at least for when I was around.
What was your like graduating class? Like, how big was your school?
Well, my graduating class, I think, was like 42 students. It was very small. But the
42 students?
Yeah. But
wow.
The areas around me, like, because there was school of choice. My school was just kind of like right in the middle of all the other country towns or country schools. My school was kind of like the popular one, kind of. Like it was that and another one. But all the other ones were at least like if you were to go further south. We talked about this on the Brody's podcast with Waldron. They had like 5 graduating students.
Wow.
And then you go north to literally like North Adams, there was like 2 graduating students. Yeah.
So that's like one classroom for kindergarten through 12th grade.
One classroom.
I can fit all of you in one classroom.
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
But I imagine it wasn't just one senior student. I imagine there was like a class full of students, maybe, I would hope. And then they just dropped out of, I'm assuming, or went to a different school. I don't know if it was like, I don't know. I didn't go to those schools, but I just remember looking at the reports and like, only 1 or 2? Like, it's just a smaller school.
Did you have a lot of kids that dropped out or didn't?
I feel graduate? Like there was a few, but like that was because they just left our school. I don't know if they dropped out. Like there might have been like 1 or 2 pregnant girls that just didn't graduate. Probably from like, because like at the time being pregnant at, back in like 2012-ish, 2013, 14, that was a big taboo. I feel like nowadays it's almost normalized. Like, oh, you're pregnant at 13? Yeah. All right. You know what I mean? Like, but back when I was in high school, if, a girl was pregnant, it was like, whoa, you're pregnant? Like, at least in my mind, everybody else could have been like, yeah, she's pregnant,
Right. But I remember, I think I was maybe a freshman or sophomore, and 8th grader at our school got pregnant. And everyone was like, whoa, and it was like a senior in our high school that did it. And we were like, whoa, what the It's crazy.
Yeah. See, I mean, I don't know with this particular individual, but, I knew there was at least one girl that just left, because of that. I don't know what happened to her after that. I haven't really kept up with anybody really from my high school except for like 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, I feel like living in but just like the area in general, like quite a few farmers maybe didn't graduate from my school, I'm trying to think, and then maybe just like some.
Probably they pursue their career as a farmer.
Yeah,
you don't need a degree for farming.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I bet they're doing pretty good right now.
Well, you see, that's the thing. Like with that, like back before, I think before they had like 12th or 8th grade, or 9 to 12th grade, they just stopped school at 8th grade because they were taught everything they needed to be up until. The reason why they had to expand knowledge, I don't know, maybe it's to dumb us down, to draw out Or maybe somebody's like, kids aren't ready for the workforce yet. We got to wait till they're 18. I don't know. I got to do some research now. But I think I'm going to finish up on that because it's getting pretty close to when I have to get up and get ready for work. So I want to thank you, Zach, for coming in and coming back for day 2 of recording because we tried to do it yesterday and it didn't work. Now today, hopefully the recording and everything is going good.
Thanks for having me. I had a hashiest time.
The hashiest?
Thanks for having me. I had a great time. Thanks for having me. I had a wonderful time. Which one do you think sounded the better?
Oh, that was good.